Hey, let's stop rambling on and get to the
Yeah.
review.
What is and what should never be. The Led Zeppelin 2 review.
Mhm.
Hey, music fans, welcome back to
Thank
Sound Labs. Oh. Hey, music fans. Take three. There's a lady who's short. Okay. Hey, music fans. Well, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the real life? Okay. Hey, music fans, welcome back to Sound Lab Studios. Today we are going to be continuing our Led Zeppelin series, going through the albums of British rock band Led Zeppelin. And here to review their second album is Nick from Townsend 909, Jacob Martin from Jacob Martin, and Jason from Jason the Old Millennial. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing great. It's always good to be on your channel, and I'm excited to talk about this one. I wasn't big on Led Zeppelin 1, but I'm really excited to talk about Led Zeppelin 2.
Here's a little brief recap of our thoughts on Led Zeppelin 1. And then I'm going to play a little clip where it shows Jason, or sorry, Jason was in that one. I'm going to show Jacob like being like, I didn't really like this much, but I liked this one and this one.
Actually, I think I respected it more than I liked it.
Yeah. But then came 2, and everything changed. All right, this album came out just a few months after the first Led Zeppelin album. They had to record it while they were on the road. It's really crazy considering the quality of this album.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
as you
Like
can
like when the Beatles made with the Beatles, it was nowhere near as good as Please Please Me, and they had more time for that album. But this album is like a couple of months after, and it's like way better than the first album.
Yeah, this from what I understand, the first two albums came out within the same year, 1969.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
The fact that you have two albums with different sounds. The first one was more blues and
Yeah.
psychedelic, and then Led Zeppelin 2 is a mix of blues and hard rock. In the span of several months,
Yeah.
I think this shows how good of a band Led Zeppelin actually is, that they're willing to grow and improve their sound in the span of months.
Okay, if you like that, then I think you are going to like Led Zeppelin 3. And here's the thing about Led Zeppelin is no 2 albums of theirs sound the same. They are always evolving their sound and changing what they sound like, which is why some people don't like their later albums as much because they say it doesn't sound like Led Zeppelin. But it sounds exactly like Led Zeppelin because Led Zeppelin's sound is always changing. So
The only exception to that is Presence, really.
yeah, Presence was kind of a step back for them in my opinion, but Led Zeppelin 3, they kind of continue a little bit with the hard rock thing with like the Immigrant Song. They continue with the blues with Since I've Been Loving You. More hard rock with like Out on the Tiles. Everything else on that album is completely new territory for them. They went to a cottage that I think Robert Plant used to vacation at. It has no running water and no electricity, and so if you're gonna write songs there, the only thing you got is like acoustic guitars to write songs on. So many of the songs are acoustic songs on that album, and so it sounds more like a little bit of a harder edge folk rock album, to be honest.
Especially Gallows Pull. Like the beginning starts off slow, but then it gets. Oh, I'll go into more detail about that song.
We're putting the cart before the horse. And speaking of the horse, what a horse it is! Led Zeppelin 2. It's a workhorse. A very great album. Do we have any general thoughts about this before we dig into the track by track?
Well, I have to say, it's just a big improvement from the first album, and it's very close to the first album. I don't think there's a single second wasted on this record, and I'll go more in detail of why I think that.
Yeah, as someone who was, I mean, I didn't love the first album. I've respected it more than I liked it. Led Zeppelin 2 was an amazing album. It kind of, for me, encapsulates what I know about Led Zeppelin as a band. And I think the album as a whole, I think, has some of their best tracks.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the review on the first one, Led Zeppelin 1, but I listened to it in preparation still, and I kind of was with Jacob. I really did not like that first album. I was like shocked at how much I didn't like it. Uh, I thought it was a boring album. It was very bluesy, very slow moving or something. It had maybe two songs that were hits, I think, like Dazed and Confused and Communication Breakdown. Uh, this you come to this album, and man, this is such a step up. It has five big hits on it. It's five of the best Led Zeppelin songs on it, and they're just some of the best rock songs ever. I mean, I just absolutely love this album.
I said it whenever we did the review for 1. I said that I actually do like Led Zeppelin 1 better than Led Zeppelin 2. Jacob and Jason probably look at me like I'm crazy right now. But I will
Music is subjective, dude.
I will definitely say this. Led Zeppelin 2 is a better listen all the way through. I'm not a big fan of You Shook Me or I Can't Quit You Baby because they're just kind of general blues songs. But I will say that there's just like no wasted seconds on this album. I just think that the highs are a little bit higher on the first one, in my opinion.
Okay.
I could see it though. I personally see it because before, before we after we did the one review, when I listened to it, and I always wasn't crazy about You Shook Me, but then I listened to I Can't Quit You Baby. I'm like, is this album better than 2? And then I listened to 2, and there's like not a single second wasted on that. I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to like this album better than 1, but I could definitely see where you're coming from though, Garrett.
I also track versus tracked 1 and 2 and 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Led Zeppelin 1. I don't think I would consider any song on that first album like top tier Led Zeppelin, even though there are some enjoyable songs on the album. I like Dazed and Confused, Communication Breakdown, Good Times, Bad Times, and I was the one person on the review that liked You Shook Me.
It needs its fans. It's basically electrifying the blues.
You think I would have been
with the exception of one song in Led Zeppelin 2, all the songs in Led Zeppelin 2 are amazing.
I think I might know. Oh wait, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I have one that I don't like as much, but it's not the one that I think Jacob's thinking of.
Well, I know you're talking about. I know what both of you guys were talking about.
Yeah, and I should say, like I was talking to Nick kind of on the chat, Led Zeppelin, we're doing this 50 essential albums list, and we've got 7 Led Zeppelin albums on our list, which is the third most out of anybody.
Yeah.
To say how many good albums they've got on there. And Led Zeppelin 1 and 2, of course, are on there.
I think
Garrett put 1 on there, and I put 2 on there when we did the 60s.
Yeah.
I still thought it was funny that like I did the top 3 and you did like all the like a bunch of like the bands that had the most things, and we were just kind of thinking the same thing.
We thought the same thing, yeah.
I think Led Zeppelin had like the most albums that were like between, because like I know Nick put a lot of the Who albums on there. I put a lot of the Beatles albums.
Yeah, me
But
too.
if you go like which band has the most albums on that list that like everybody put different albums on, it would probably have been
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, if you've not watched the essential like top 50 essential albums of the 60s, 70s, and 80s videos over on Jason the Old Millennials channel, please go watch those. Those videos are really great, really fun to make. The 70s one is like 5 hours long, but if you just
Yeah.
want to watch a little bit of it at a time, then I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, they're a lot of work, but they're really fun to put together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad the 80s list wasn't that long, because I would have had like an hour or 2 of sleep if that was the
Yeah.
case.
The
only
80s
3
one was fun.
I had like 3 hours of sleep, and yeah, it was the work the next day was not that fun. And
Oh boy.
yeah, when me and Garrett
Yeah.
did the top albums of 1970, I was just like dozing in and off of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
just
I
like-
was really tired as well because I woke up at I don't remember when I woke up at like 5 in the morning because I had to be at work at 6. So
Yeah.
I was tired as well. You know, I enjoyed that video, but
Oh, yeah.
anyway, let's go ahead and get into our first track.
You need Kool-Aid.
I saw a meme, and someone had animated. They had taken the isolated vocals and they had animated Robert Plant pouring a glass of Kool-Aid from like the Kool-Aid Man jug and going, "You need Kool-Aid," and like handing it out. And there was another one that it was called like Robert Plant Bakes, and he opens up the oven and he grabs a pie out of the oven, puts it on the windowsill, and goes, "You need Kool-Aid." But I think it would have been funnier as if when he grabbed the pie, he would have went, "Ah,
Yeah.
you need Kool-Aid." That would have been funnier, but they didn't do that.
And then maybe if he was fixing some like that apple pie you were talking about, and he's eating it, while he's eating it, he can go,
Yeah, the whole middle part.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, enough about Robert Plant memes. We're gonna get into the song "Whole Lot of Love."
Great opener. Led Zeppelin is a band that I'd say was never disappointed. Has never disappointed me in terms of opening an album. Good Times, Bad Times was great, but this song really amplified them to another. Pardon me. It really amplified them, like music wise, and the only thing. Like most of the time, I'm in the mood to listen to the middle section, but then there's times where I'm like, man, did there have to be that much moaning in the middle of the song?
Yeah.
Like it sounds weird when I'm like listening to it with other people, and I hear that, I'm just like, oh my gosh. but like most of the time, I really like that section. Like sometimes I only like that middle section. Like sometimes I'm in the mood like the experimentation in the middle, but still, what a brilliant way to open up the album, though. Yeah, it's great.
One of the all-time great guitar riffs.
Mm-hmm.
Great first thing to hear whenever you put the album on, that guitar riff. And it's funny because this song was based off of a song, "You Need Love" by the Small Faces, even though that was based on an old blues song by Willie Dixon. So Willie Dixon never heard the Small Faces version of the song, and so he sued, or his estate sued Led Zeppelin later on to get a copyright publishing on the song, which they gave him. But it's funny because Led Zeppelin, they said where they were taking their inspiration from, it actually wasn't his song, it was the Small Faces version, which Nick probably knows all about because he loves the Small Faces.
Yeah, they're my second favorite band, only behind the Who. And that I will say though, the section where Robert Plant's like, "Woman, you need," and it's like love. I'm like, I still love that section, but I much prefer the Mary, because that got inspiration from when Mary did it. And if you haven't listened to that version of the song, you got to check it out. That end of the song where he's just like, "Woman, It's basically like Led Zeppelin's version, but I think it's better because there's like no vocal effects on it. It's just Mary just absolutely going crazy, at the end there. And
Mm.
you've listened to it though too, Jason. I believe. Well, yeah, you did. We reviewed the first album.
Speaking of that section, I like how there's because it was a recording error. There's a little pre-echo where you can hear Robert Plant very faintly before he comes in, because
Yeah.
like they had recorded they had recorded the song on the same tape. They were re-recording over the same tape apparently, and they couldn't delete the original track or something like that. And there was some bleed through of it right before he sang. And apparently in the 80s, when they released Led Zeppelin 2 for the first issue CDs, they had found some way to remove it. And fans were like, it doesn't sound right. And so they had to like digitally put it back in for the next issue of the album.
Yeah,
But
you
then
can't just simply get rid of that.
there's also that weird experimental section in the middle, which I can only describe as Robert Plant having an intimate moment through another dimension. Well, if you
Good
listen
something.
to it on speakers, it goes crazy with the stereo panning. I cannot imagine what this album would sound like in mono, because this album was made for the stereo effects. Good thing by 1969 that mono had phased out, because I don't think this album would sound very good in mono, because like it goes, which it features the theremin, same instrument used on Good Vibrations, which is interesting because I watched a video of them performing this song live in 1973 at Madison Square Garden. Of course, they play it for like 15 minutes. They extend it, but they actually had the theremin. I didn't know that they were going to do that part. It was a little bit different than they do in the studio version. They do a little bit of a different drum groove, but they had the theremin there, and Jimmy Page was up there like making the theremin noise. And then that guitar solo. Oh man, that guitar solo. Epic. Anyway, that is my thoughts about the opening track.
I love
Yeah.
the opening track as well. I liked Good Times, Bad Times, fine, but this is how you open an album, bro. I love
Yeah.
the guitar riffs in the song is amazing. Robert Plant's vocals, it has a very memorable chorus. The weird section in the middle never bothered me. It was the 70s; they could experiment. That was a thing then. I didn't mind that, but it's just a very rocking song that showcases Led Zeppelin and what Led Zeppelin can do best. I think it's a great track.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's my favorite like opener. Probably my favorite opener to a Led Zeppelin album, but maybe my favorite opener almost of all time, because that guitar riff hits you, and it just like I remember just anytime because I have my earbuds in, and you turn it on, and all of a sudden that guitar just hits you right away. That bump, a bump, 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 and like my heart just starts beating faster, and I'm just like revved up when I hear the song. It's just such a great rock song. Just that it's one of the greatest guitar riffs I think of all time. Like I put it up there as one of the greats. And I love the structure of the song with the guitar coming in. Then the bass comes in pretty soon afterwards and kind of does a similar kind of beat. And then you get, yeah, Plant's voice is so unique when he comes in, and the cooling, like whatever he says there. Like it's such a great opener the way he comes in and he's singing it. And it's just going on. It's almost like he's singing a cappella with the guitar in the background. It's just weird how he does it.
Yeah,
And it works
that makes
well.
sense.
Yeah, it works so well. I don't know how Plant does it, but it just has a unique sound to him when he's singing with that riff behind him. And then then it's like he sings like the verse, and then he gets past that verse, and also the drums kick in. All of a sudden, man, that song just goes up another level. And I love that when it seems like he's done that before. I hear that in other songs where they start this way and they wait for that drum to really kick in the song. And I love when they do that, and they do that in this one. And yeah, it's just man, it's just a great rock song. Loud, just really great, loud, fun song. And like I said, like the middle part is weird. It reminds me of like Won't Get Fooled Again. When you have like this
Oh, yeah.
middle part that's way different than the rest of the song. and then you have the drums come back in to kind of kick it back into the regular song. Or this time it's more that guitar comes in, and that boom 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 boom. Like, yeah. Oh yeah, I love how that kicks the song back in, and then finally you get the dun 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 dun. Once you get that riff coming in, that's like, okay, now we're back into the regular song. And yeah, so it's kind of a cool effect. I think it could have been shorter, that middle part, but I still like that effect of kind of going away from the song and then coming back with all that, and it's one of my favorites on here.
Yeah. One thing that I did notice after a while of listening to it is at the very beginning of the song, you hear a faint laugh at the beginning, and then it goes into the song. You hear like a little, you hear like it's like and then just like do. It's like whenever I hear that, I'm just thinking like they're like, yeah, we're going into some great territory right here, and
It's like we're about to rock the house down.
yeah.
Anyway,
Man.
track 2, What Is and What Should Never Be.
What a great follow-up track that is.
Yeah.
It starts off a little quiet. It was like, and then and then it gets heavy, and it's one of my 5 favorite songs on the album. It's that good. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it's just an amazing track. I love the part though where it's just like, pardon me, where it's just like dun 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 dun.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of the song, though. That part always gets me. It always shakes me all night long.
Right. Going a little AC/DC there.
I think he was referencing the song on the first Led Zeppelin.
Oh, that's
the "You Shook Me" song.
Well, that too. The AC/DC song's better anyway.
Who stole from who?
But
Which I guess you could say is an AC/DC reference. But
yeah, maybe, yeah. But I think this is an amazing song too. It starts off like a ballad almost.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the chord progression in the song sounds like something. It reminds me a little bit of the Beatles' "Don't Let Me Down" almost. The verses in that song, and so I'm like, oh, this guy has a little bit of a Beatles vibe at the beginning, and I love to be the Beatles, so that's a compliment. And then it gets all heavy in the chorus, and Robert Plant's like screaming his heart out with the fast singing. I don't have the lyrics on me at the moment, so I'm not gonna dare imitate it. But it makes for a really cool mix of a song that it's one of the highlights on the album. I think this would be it's in my top 5 on the album for sure. It was like a lot of love. This was one of 4 songs I was familiar with going in. And I thought this was another highlight on the album.
I really like the trippy effect that they have on Robert Plant's vocals at the beginning, like kind of like the warbly thing that they put on his vocals, and then it's like the whole song just like builds and builds, and it like starts off really quiet, but then when you hit that chorus, and then John Bonham comes in, and the chorus hits real strong. They get rid of the vocal effect, and it's just like it hits you like powerful punch the gut. That chorus there.
Yeah, I agree with everything. It's a really great song. Another big one for them. I've heard quite a bit before, and like I said, what's so unique is how they started off softly like a ballad, and then they're gonna come in with the rocking guitar. It's a rock song, but it's part ballad, part rock, and it works so well together. Yeah, like I said, when they kick in that guitar, so good. And Plant, just belting it out like he does.
The Lemon song.
I'll let you 3 talk about that, then I'll give my opinions on it.
All right, I guess I'll go first. The longest song on the album, and to me, it's the weirdest song on the album for sure.
When You Squeeze My Lemon Out.
Not the worst thing I've heard in the song. You can hear Justin Bieber singing about give me my yummy.
Yummy, yeah.
Got me yummy. That's far worse than Squeeze My Lemon.
That's the worst song.
That song's awful.
It was a cool experimental song. I don't think it's one of my favorites on the album, but I feel like with this song, I feel like they took the bluesy influences that they did on the first album, and made a more rocking track out of it. Because I know, Garrett, you talked about you didn't like the bluesier tracks on the first album, like You Shook Me and I Can't Quit You, Baby. Well, I feel like the Lemon song is, I think, like a better version of those two tracks combined, because you have the rock and guitar riffs, you got some of the experimentation that Led Zeppelin did, but you have the hard rocking sound that defined Led Zeppelin too. And even though I think it's one of the lesser songs on the album, it's still really, really good, and I highly enjoyed it.
Yeah, to me, it was like they were just jamming in the studio or something. It didn't feel like a actual, like song like the other ones. And something about I don't know if it's just this album or just Led Zeppelin in general, is just listening to them, it feels like they're playing in front of an audience or something, like, and they're just improvising. They have that feel to it somehow, even though I know it's a studio, album, and they're just playing the studio. But I don't know, something interesting about the way they play and how they record it. And yeah, it's like a good jam song to me, I guess I would say. It's not one of my favorites, but it's okay.
This is probably my least favorite song on the album. I do like the opening blues guitar riff though. The bow 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 bow
Boom,
bow
boom,
bow bow
boom.
bow bow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that part.
it's good guitar, I would say.
Okay, now my turn to talk about it. I freaking love this song.
Okay.
When I first heard it up until now, I've always loved it. It's like a great combination of their rockin' songs and their bluesy songs, and I've always loved it. And the slower parts I love, the faster parts I love. This and the very end where his vocals sort of echo at the end. I'll never not like the song. This song is, oh, I love this track. The musicianship, Robert Plant's vocals. This song, to me, it's amazing, and it's not even my favorite song on the album. So that should prove how great this album is to me.
Okay, the big closer to side one. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, you're that should be the next song.
Anybody want to go first?
I will go first
You can go
because this is one I never heard of. I really love this song actually. I love the ballad, it being a ballad. This is like, to me, the first full-fledged ballad Led Zeppelin had ever done.
Yeah.
And I thought it was beautifully done. Robert Plant's vocals interspliced with the organ playing in the verses.
Yeah.
I think the romance, the lovely lyrics placed within the song, I think kind of hit home to me. Having Led Zeppelin of all groups hit me hard emotionally. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
wow.
think you did your job there.
Oh, if you like this one, you better get ready for the Rain song. That's my favorite Led Zeppelin song. It has a very similar vibe to this one because George Harrison said Led Zeppelin couldn't write a ballad, and then they delivered with that. So I'm excited for you to
this is
hear
a really
that.
good ballad. I thought it was very well done.
Anyway, that's the way. That's another brilliant ballad.
It's so good too.
But oh man, this song. Well, here's the thing though, is that like my head when I first heard these albums was like, oh, Led Zeppelin has to be this hard rock band. They can't go soft. So when I first heard this song, I'm like, it's all right. I always skip it to Heartbreaker. And that's not a bad way of enjoying the album. Heartbreaker is a brilliant song, but like a year ago, I listened to Thank You, like sat down and listened to it on its own. And I'm like, man, I missed out on such a great Zeppelin song. And I'm not going to tell you where it's on my top 5, but it is brilliant. The vocals, like Robert Plant is killing it. Like, this is one of 3 songs where I'd say Robert Plant is my favorite Zeppelin member at the moment. My favorite Zeppelin member is either John Paul Jones or Bonham, but This is like one of three songs where I say Robert Plant is the main guy in the song. I would love to hear like an AI like thing where like Steve Marriott does the vocals, because
No.
I'm sorry,
AI.
this is like the Marriott fan coming out of me, but I would love to hear that for like if that was the case.
Nah, with AI, it would sound weird.
It's interesting to hear Led Zeppelin write like a serious love ballad. A lot of their songs are just about like not non-lasting relationships, but then like this is a song that Robert Plant apparently wrote for his wife, and I think it's a really great song. It's good to see a very different side of Led Zeppelin on this song that really doesn't come out very much.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most underrated song on this album. It's not as big as some of the other ones, like as well known and all that, but like Jacob said, I like Robert Plant's voice with that organ at the beginning is my favorite part of the song. And yeah, Robert Plant is a really good vocalist. I mean, obviously when he belts out those rockers, it's great, but then when he's pretty good when it goes soft too. I mean, one of my favorite songs is "Going to California" from Led Zeppelin 4, and I love his vocals on that one as well. Like he does more of the not the hard rock ones. He's really great as well. Yeah, and something about the way they do his voice, it sounds like they just isolate his voice or something, and you can't hear anything but his voice. And it's just interesting. It sounds great.
I also love the end where like all gets real quiet and then it goes and then that's the end of the song.
Yeah, kind of had a false finish, didn't it? I thought it was over, and I was like, oh, it's not over.
Yeah.
They kind of did that with the Over the Hills and Far Away, kind of.
Yeah.
That reminds me of it's one of them fake out endings. Reminds me a little bit of what was it, Suspicious Minds by Elvis Presley, where he's
Oh
singing
yeah,
repeated, caught in a trap, I can't walk out, and it fades out. You think it's over, and then it
yeah,
cuts back on, and he sings the that line again a couple more times, and then it actually ends.
yeah. The Beatles did it really good with "Hello Goodbye." Was a great one.
Yeah.
Where you think the song's over, it's like, nope, we're going.
Or Helter Skelter, where it literally fades out. It's all the way quiet, and then it comes back in, and then I got blisters on my fingers.
Yeah,
Strawberry Fields Forever too, where it gets really
Oh
crazy
yeah.
at the end
yeah, that's a weird
with the,
one.
with the horns. Oh,
Or
Yeah.
like the album version of Help Me Rhonda by the Beach Boys has several fake fade outs where it gets really
Yeah.
quiet and then it just goes right back into the or it's like, nope, psych. Okay, now we're going to flip the record over and start with Heartbreaker.
So this
should let
is
you
an
start
interesting
off.
story. I think when we were talking about this album, either on the Led Zeppelin 1 review or after the fact, I think you were really hyping up this song because it did not ring a bell just on the title alone. But then I heard the song and I'm like, that guitar riff starts playing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've heard this song because
Okay.
I've definitely heard this song. I just didn't know the title of it. But man, that guitar riff, I thought was amazing. The fast moving vocals from Robert Plant, very rocking. I was really vibing along with it, and even though I didn't know the title of the song, I didn't recognize it. Now I do recognize the song now. Really love the song. Definitely ranks up there as among the highlights of the album. I think it's neck and neck with Whole Lot of Love for me. I think Whole Lot of Love's a little bit better, but Heartbreaker comes very, very close.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, I love this song. It's another great, just big rock song for him. Of course, yeah, it's a big one that I've heard played on the radio before. And what really makes the song is the guitar solo in the middle, or whatever, is like one of my favorite guitar solos. It's so unique because it's like it doesn't really come into the flow of the song like a normal guitar solo would go. It's like they go and then all of a sudden everybody like, okay, everybody shut up. We're just gonna listen to the guitar, and we silence everybody but except that guitar solo, and all you hear is Jimmy Page hitting that very unique, like I said, kind of guitar solo, and he does this, kind of dun 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 dun. Then he does a dun 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 dun, and it's like I'm like, oh my god, like he's going so fast on it. I just can't imagine. As a guitar player, I've never played that fast before, so I don't know how people do it, but he's doing some really fast finger pick in there, finger move in there that I have no idea how to do that. And I just amazed when I hear it. I was like, oh my God, like he's just going crazy on that guitar. And then they kick back into the song and the regular guitar riff comes in. And yeah, I just absolutely love that.
This song was written to showcase Jimmy Page on the first album was playing a Telecaster that was given to him by Jeff Beck. This song was written because he got a new guitar, a new toy he wanted to play with, which became, he called it his number one. And it was given to him by, of all people, Joe Walsh, who would eventually join the Eagles. He bought it from Joe Walsh. It's a Gibson Les Paul, and he wanted to show off the power of the Les Paul. So he wrote a song to basically just showcase what his Les Paul could do.
Oh, man, yeah.
And boy, did he ever, because that guitar riff, man, it comes in really strong. And then I like that middle section where it's like changing keys. It's the main riff, but it goes into a different key and it just keeps going up. And then that's whenever you get like that, and they're just going, and then it all cuts out. And then the guitar solo. This is my favorite Led Zeppelin guitar solo. It is epic. And apparently in 1970, oh, great. My first video stopped. Okay. Came up again. There we go. Apparently in 1973, whenever they played this song live at Madison Square Garden, because it all cuts out and it's just Jimmy Page doing the unaccompanied guitar solo. There's that part, the part where he goes,
yeah.
Like he never plays the same solo the same way twice, but he was doing something very similar to that, where he was doing the pull-offs with that hand, and he had the other hand up in the air to show that he could play with just that hand. Like he could do pull-offs so strong that he can only do with that hand. And then he reaches over and grabs the string on the headstock, pulls it up, and that's that bends in here, that wow.
Yeah.
It's him pushing down on the string at the headstock at the tuning peg. And there was a young man in the audience by the name of Eddie Van Halen who says that was the moment where the inspiration for Eruption came, was seeing Jimmy Page play that live, that Heartbreaker solo, where it was nothing else but the guitar doing an unaccompanied solo playing really fast, and they're doing the pull-offs like Eruption, except Eddie would add a note instead of just do-do-do-do-do-do-do, it's do-do-do-do-do-do-do, instead of do-do-do-do-do-do-do, if that makes any sense, my do-do-doos. But then there's like a second riff that comes in after the guitar solo, where there's like and then there's a second guitar solo, which is really cool. And then it goes back to the main riff and the main thing. And I really like how it just like goes right into the next song after this, which I really kind of think you got to play back to back, otherwise you're not getting the full effect.
Yeah,
but we're gonna save the next song for the next song.
Yeah. Well, my opinion on it is, well, you guys nailed it on what I was probably gonna say about it. My favorite part is the end. It was like, heartbreak, go break your evil ways, go away, heartbreaker. I much prefer that, like the way that he sings that over the way he sings a whole lot of love. It's so rocking. Whenever the end of Heartbreaker, I'm always like, heck yeah. And then next song comes on and I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're going to transition into that song, might as well just talk about the transition between the two songs and just go straight into it. I like how it just goes like, hot when the purple umbrella, and then the next song just starts right after that, just so seamlessly. Living, loving Maid, she's just a woman. Now, I heard that Jimmy Page was very embarrassed that he wrote this song because it wasn't about an actual person, but I still think this song is very great, even though he thinks it's like one of the worst Led Zeppelin songs. It's one of my favorite songs on this album, actually, because it's really catchy, has a really great guitar riff, really great guitar solo, and you have to put it right after Heartbreaker. The two go hand in hand.
Yeah, now what I think it's crazy is that the song, I think it was really, I read it was released as the B side to A Whole Lot of Love when it was really single, which is very odd because the two songs don't really go well together. I think to me, would be the good companion to A Whole Lot of Love was be something like Thank You.
Yeah.
Love songs in a weird way. Living Loving Maid complements Heartbreaker so well because you have the ending of Heartbreaker with a hot and it transitions into the Living Loving Maid so well, very seamlessly, like you just said, Garrett. And even though this is the shortest song on the album, it has a lot of energy. I didn't realize that Jimmy Page was embarrassed by the song. He shouldn't be. It's a fun rocking song. You don't really hear much harmonies out of Led Zeppelin, but I enjoyed it in this song.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like one of my personal favorites from the album, but I still think it's a pretty fun song. And I thought it was a good, seamless companion to how awesome Heartbreaker was.
I guess lyrically, Heartbreaker is the girl breaking his heart, and then Living Loving Maid is like the roast of the Heartbreaker.
I guess. I read the song was actually written about I think an obsessed fan who was stalking them was what I had read.
Interesting. Nick, what's your opinion?
This song is epic the entire way through. It doesn't, even though it is a short song, it feels really quick. I was looking on my iTunes to see because I have like top 100 songs I listen to the most throughout the year, and this is like the most listened to song on this album, and for a reason. Like every time I listen to it, I always repeat. I'm just like, song's over already. Repeat this song over again. Repeat, and just endless cycle, really. And the song is just, oh man, it's nowhere near as technical or as not as advanced as Heartbreaker was, but it's just so fun. It's so, I don't know. I don't know. I've always loved this song. Like, some people were like, I don't like the song. I'm like, what?
They just don't like it because the band doesn't like it.
Yeah. That's true. But yeah, what a great song.
Next,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of the best segues, whatever, into another song. Like, reminds me of Queen, doing "We Will Rock You," goes right into "We Are the Champions," whatever. It's like, yeah, it's like one song. I always feel like I'm listening to just one song. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm listening to it and I go, oh yeah, I'm on a different song now. I forgot.
Nothing will beat the transition between Moving in Stereo and All Mixed Up, though.
Yeah. Ours. Yeah. It's another classic. I mean, rock song that I've heard so many times on the radio, and Jay Page just absolutely kills it on guitar on here. I love what he does, and yeah, like Jacob says, there's a little more singing together on this one, where it's just not Robert Plant's voice kind of isolated, a little more singing along together, which is nice. And yeah, I can't imagine you can't like this song. It's just a real fun song.
Yeah, the only other Led Zeppelin song I can think of where the group sings together is Good Times, Bad Times.
Okay, next is Ramble On. Sing my song.
Oh, I was so excited to talk about this one. This is my favorite song off of Led Zeppelin 2. Even before listening to this album, I was like, I have a feeling Ramble On is going to be my favorite ever since I first heard the song. I remember I first heard it in my music appreciation class when I was in community college. I think we were talking about Led Zeppelin one day. And the first time I heard it was then. It's a bit folksier compared to the other songs on the album. It's a bit softer compared to some of the hard rocking sounds. Not that that's a bad thing, as I really love this song. I like how folksy it sounds. I like the desperation that Robert Plant's trying to convey in the vocals. This guy desperate to do anything to find the woman of his dreams.
He would even go through Mordor to find her.
Yes, and that's the other reason I love this song. I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy. The Lord of the Rings references in this song I thought were pretty amazing, even though it's kind of weird that Gollum is in the song, who's apparently going after the same woman as well. Gollum's
Apparently Sauron. Apparently Sauron too.
Sauron, yeah, and Mordor, yeah. It's weird. I'm not sure if the guys from Led Zeppelin really read the Lord of the Rings books. They just put the names,
They just
put copied and pasted them into the song. But I don't care. I give them an A for effort. It's still an awesome song. It's still a rocking song, even with the folksiness, the acoustic guitar in the verses, and then it transitions into the rock and electric guitar in the chorus, and then Robert Plant still belts so Ramble On. I botched that. I'm sorry, but I love his vocals on the song. It's amazing.
Let me ask you something. Do you like the folksier element of this song?
I do actually. I thought the guitar work was actually pretty cool.
Do you like how it kind of plays around with acoustic and electric sounds?
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah.
Then you are going to love Led Zeppelin 3. Because this song right here is a foreshadowing of Led Zeppelin 3.
All right. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
As for my opinions on this song, it is epic. I like the acoustic intro at the beginning, and then I like when the electric guitar finally comes in, and I like the layered thing that Robert Plant does with his vocals near the end, where he's like singing two different parts, but it's like it sounds like there's two Robert Plants.
Yeah.
I like that at the end. Cool guitar, so with like the and again, like the Lord of the Rings references are really cool. This is not the last time that you'll hear Lord of the Rings referenced in a Led Zeppelin song. The Battle of Evermore from Led Zeppelin 4 has some Lord of the Rings references as well.
Yeah.
But this is also one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, me too. It's a great song. It's one of my favorites. Exactly what you said. I love the acoustic guitar at the beginning, and then it kicks in at that chorus, that Ramble On, and that guitar hits, and also the drums. The drums don't really hit until I think to the chorus part. There's some kind of sound, like something hitting
like
something.
a clicking. There's a clicking sound, and
I don't know what it is.
There has been videos that have gone in depth where people try to find out what that sound was. They thought, was it like a metronome that John Bonham had set so that they could keep on time? Was somebody like, was Jimmy Page like tapping on his acoustic guitar to keep the time with the, like, nobody knows what that clicking sound really is.
Yeah, some kind of beat going, I guess. Yeah, it was what it felt like. Yeah. Because there's no drums really. It's just that whatever that is, and then So I love when they start that way, and then the drums kick in later on. Like it's so good, and great drumming, of course. Obviously, great drummer, and I thought it was a really good song for the drummer here and everybody, and I just love when they get into that rock part, like you said. Yeah, great song.
It's crazy that we all talk about the transition from Heartbreaker to Live and Love and Maid, but there's also kind of a transition from that Live and Love and Maid to Ramble On. Kind of, it's like she's just a woman, and then the riff starts and all that. Hot take alert: I'm not into this song. This is my least favorite song. I did say there's not a single second wasted on this album, which I still think that. I will confidently still say that, but I think it's a tad bit overrated. Just saying. It's a little repetitive. I've never been the biggest fan of it, but it's still a good song though.
Well, now we are going to get into Mr. Bonham's big moment to shine. Moby Dick, the instrumental track.
Ooh, okay. Where do I begin with Moby Dick? I mean, he's a good drummer. John
Yeah.
Paul, that's his name, right?
Yeah, John Bonham.
Oh,
Bottom,
John
yeah.
Bonham. Is it John Bonham or John Paul Jones?
John Paul Jones
John
is
Paul
the
Jones is
bass
the-
player.
Okay. I
There's
gotta
two.
get my
There's
John.
two
I gotta get my
Johns.
Johns right.
Jones.
But
There's
John
also John
Bonham,
Lennon and John Entwistle.
yeah, John Bonham's a good drummer. I give him credit for that. I just was not crazy about this song. The instrumental at the beginning and the end, where it's the drumming and the guitar work, I didn't mind. But then most of the song is just John Bonham going. And he's just like banging his drums nonstop for probably 3 minutes of this song. And I was like, okay, this is getting old after a while. I just kind of lost interest in the Moby Dick song.
Well,
Garrett, you said there was like a
yeah,
20-minute
I got
live
some
version
bad
of this
news for you
song.
because
I'm like,
when they play,
if I had seen Led Zeppelin in concert here in the 20-minute live version, I'd be like,
Oh no.
well, because I've seen video footage of how it goes. They play the instrumental section, and then the three other members put their instruments to the side and walk off stage to get some water. And then John Bonham proceeds to just bang away at the drums for like 10 minutes. And then they come back and do the end 10 minutes later.
I just did not care for this song. I feel like this is like an easy skip on the album for me. Like, yeah, I guess it's cool to see John Bonham's drum playing talent, but that probably would have worked better as maybe a 10-second kickoff to the album or something like that. Not like an extended 4-minute song where it's just nonstop drumming. Where for me, it just gets kind of old after a while.
I like the guitar riff though. I like the
Yeah,
do 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 do, and I like the do 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 part at the end. I like.
Needless to say, he wouldn't like the bongo version on your other vinyl.
Okay.
I remember you talking about that.
So I bought two copies of this album. The first one I bought was an original copy from 1969, but it's the second pressing because that's something that we should talk about while we're on this album. It definitely needs to be mentioned. This album was originally mastered by Robert Ludwig, who is the GOAT when it comes to mastering engineers. He engineered some of the best sounding albums ever: Synchronicity by the Police, Moving Pictures by Rush, Invisible Touch by Genesis, Pyromania by Def Leppard, Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. Like, I could just go on and on with lists of albums that were mastered for record by Robert Ludwig. And this is one of his first attempts at mastering an album. Apparently, he cut it so hot that little cheap records players from the 60s would cause it to skip because they couldn't handle the bass that was put into the mastering on this album. So an Atlantic Records producer, their daughter got Led Zeppelin 2, played it on their cheap little turntable, and the needle was skipping like crazy. And they said, well, we gotta remaster this so that we gotta dumb it down so it won't cause the needle to skip. And what they did was they took the cassette version of the album, EQ'd that, and instead of pressing the record from the master tape, pressed it from the cassette. So the audio quality is very anemic and not dynamic at all. And Moby Dick, there's a part where John Bonham plays the toms with his hands that kind of sounds like the bongos, but when you listen to it on that version, it just straight up sounds like the bongos. There's no dynamics at all.
Yeah.
So it was reissued in 1975 and was cut by an Atlantic Records executive named George Piros, who was known for making really good sounding records. And when he recut that album, it sounds amazing. I got that version. It sounds amazing. The dynamics are all there. Even the bongo part actually sounds like toms and not like bongos. So much better than the other one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually do like the drum solo. I do think that yeah, it goes on for a bit, but I do like to hear Bonham just killing it on the drums. And Nick, you know how much I like Asia by Steely Dan. It kind of reminds me of
Yeah.
Steve Gadd's drumming on Asia, where it's just like
Yeah, for me, it was the opposite when I heard Asia. That reminded me of that of Moby Dick. So
mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a what an amazing intro. Oh, sorry, you go first.
Oh, sorry. So Led Zeppelin 1, they had an instrumental as well.
Black Mountain
And,
Side.
and they got one on here. I don't remember there being one on the fourth one. That's
I think the
uh
next instrumental they do is Bronner R from Physical Graffiti, which is an
You
acoustic
are
guitar
correct.
instrumental.
I was gonna ask, is that a common thing for Led Zeppelin to have like one instrumental or
No, it's on. They only
okay.
have three instrumentals from what I can remember.
No, you're right. You're right because Presence doesn't have one. Houses doesn't have one. In through the outdoor doesn't have one. It just happens to be
Okay.
these two records, and
Just
then
these
the third one on the Physical Graffiti.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never a fan of instrumentals, as Nick probably knows, because it seems like anytime we do a album thing, the instrumental is usually my bottom song on the album.
Oh yeah, it was like then the Small Faces review, and then the Simon and
Yeah,
Garfunkel review.
yeah. I think we did too, and I was like, yeah, the instrumental. No matter how good an instrumental is, it's my bottom song. I just don't care for instrumentals.
I love instrumentals. YYZ, La Via Strangiato, Eruption. Trying to think of other good instrumentals.
Against
The
Snuck on Flake, the
Ox,
title track.
The Ox by The Who.
The Ox, like my two favorite instrumentals would definitely be Ogden Snook on Flake and the Ox.
Yeah, the Beatles only did one their whole career.
Oh, and
Never,
Flying.
that one isn't even technically an instrumental because it's got oh
Sounds like
yeah,
Ringo's doing the lead on that,
yeah, I
even though
can
he wasn't.
it's all four of them,
yeah,
but Ringo was mixed up really high on that song.
yeah. It's not one of my favorite Beatles
Oh,
songs. Let's just
Let's
say
Go Away for a While. That's another great instrumental on
Yeah,
Pet
that's
Sounds.
brilliant. Even the title track is great too, Pet Sounds. I actually
that.
like that for some reason. Well, Moby Dick though, what a great instrumental track. I think it doesn't go on for too long. If it was an extra 30, 45 seconds longer, then yeah, I would think it was going on for too long. But
What about
I
20
enjoy
minutes?
I actually, you know what? At one point I actually did like the 20-minute version. I was watching jump like well not like the song itself is all right, but like seeing jump I'm just going absolutely crazy on the drums
The
gives me a whole new perspective on it, and I actually kind of like it.
You got to kind of watch him if you're gonna listen to the 20-minute version. You got to watch him play. 'Cause it's he plays very like gets up on the and then like he'll play with his hands like that and he'll be like and
But the
like
way,
to just see like
way
him like he just keeps going, doesn't run out of
the way
energy.
that Moby Dick transitions to Bring It On Home though is amazing.
Yes, are you ready to bring it on home?
Yep, we're bringing it on home to
Get
the
on
end.
home.
Do 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 do.
What a what an amazing song! It's a bunch. It's like the Lemon song, where it's like well, it's like the opposite because the Lemon song starts off kind of rocking, but then kind of ends on a slower note. This song starts on a slower note, but then gets really crazy in the middle, and then it ends on the slow note again. I have to say this. Oh, sorry about that. Garage doors opening. But I like it. I like how many more times. But this song though, oh my god! Like I didn't like this song at first when I first heard it. Even Garrett will attest to that. Like I wasn't crazy about it, but listening to it again, it had grown on me significantly.
So if you remembered the when we reviewed Led Zeppelin 1, I was not that crazy on how many more times. I thought it was uh I think it overstayed its welcome and I thought it was kind of a weak album closer. I think the opposite for Bringing On Home. I think this is an amazing way to close out the album. To me, this is very similar to the Lemon song, where it has like the bluesy influences, and then you have the rocking part in the middle. Whereas the Lemon song feels like a lot more improv. Bring It On Home feels more like a legit song. And I think of the two bluesier tracks, I like Bring It On Home a lot better. The slower part at the beginning and end, I thought was really cool. And even if that was the whole song, I probably would have loved it. But to me, the rocking part in the middle was just like an extra icing on the cake, where you got the amazing guitar work, Robert Plant's vocals, and I think it's a pretty cool little contrast, kind of like what I loved about What Is and What Should Never Be, but working well in this bluesier track as well. I think this is a really awesome way to close out the album, and it really, I think a great album has to have a good closer. I think that's a common rule, and Bring It On Home is definitely a great way to wrap up the album.
Yeah, I when you said you liked You Shook Me, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely gonna like you Bring It On Home. He's gonna love that track. I guarantee that. And if he doesn't really like it, I'm gonna be extremely surprised. And you didn't disappoint. I had a feeling you were gonna like it.
I hate to be the opposite on this song, but it's one of the weakest songs on the track for me. I would say these last two songs are the two weakest tracks of the 9 songs, and it's kind of almost disappointing because you have Heartbreaker, Living, Loving, Maid, and Ramble On right in a row, and that was a great 3 songs in a row, and then you end with these two, and so it's like man, this album was just really just killing it until those last 2 songs. For me, I don't know, maybe because it's a little more bluesier for me, and I don't like bluesy songs. Like there's a harmonica in this one, and it's like more of a bluesy harmonica from what I remember. And I don't hear harmonicas very often in Led Zeppelin, I don't think. I'm thinking like I love harmonicas when the Beatles use them. I love it when Bob Dylan uses it, but I don't know. I didn't like it on this song for some reason. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I could see that though. I could, of course, I'm gonna respect that. But my problem was that like you have two great songs and then you have Ramble On stuck right in between those, like two great songs, then a good song, then two great songs. So
If you guys watched the Led Zeppelin 1 review, then you'll probably know that I really like How Many More Times, and it's actually one of my top 10 favorite Led Zeppelin songs. I do not like this one as much as that, but I'm not going to be like, my opinion is not like Jason's. I like it more than Jason, but maybe not quite as much as Nick and Jacob do. I like definitely prefer the middle section to the like the slow bluesy sections. I like the guitar riff, but it definitely delivers as an epic album closer. I just don't like it as much.
that's fair. That's completely fair.
Okay, top 5 tracks.
And a dishonorable track. I'll go first. My five favorite songs is like the 5 songs that kind of go in a, well, I'm gonna kind of rank those, but like my least favorite, like, my number 5 would be What Is and What Should Never Be. My number 4 will be, I know this might sound crazy that it's gonna be this low on the top 5, but Heartbreaker. Number 3, I'm gonna say Livin' Lovin' Maid. Number 2, I'm gonna give it to the Lemon song. Yes. I love that song that much. I know, crazy. And my favorite song on the album's Thank You.
Okay, well, my top 5, I guess my dishonorable track, the only song I don't care for on the album is Moby Dick. My top 5, number 5 is Thank You. Number 4, What Is and What Should Never Be. Number 3, Heartbreaker. Number 2, Whole Lot of Love. And my number 1 is Ramble On.
Ramble On, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention my dishonorable track. It's
Yeah.
Ramble On. Oh yeah, it's weird. Like it's like those 5 stretches of the song, like Whole Lot of Love Story, and then like my 5 favorite songs, and then it's like my least favorite song on the album. It's weird.
What's your least favorite? Did you say it?
Ramble On.
That's what I thought.
That's what I mean. Like, and then like my, it's like my 5 favorite songs, and then like the other 2 songs would be like Moby Dick and Bring It On Home, and then my second least favorite would be Whole Lot of Love. But Ramble On, I don't know. It's just I've listened to that song so many times, and it never has grown on me.
I do not wish to give dishonor to any songs on this album, so I'll just say least favorite instead. But that would be the Lemon song. But it's still really good. It's just goes on a little too long. Top 5 songs. Number 5, I am going to go with Thank You. Number 4, Living Loving Maid. Number 3, Whole Lot of Love. Number 2, Ramble On, and number 1, Heartbreaker.
All right. We all got different number ones then, it looks like. I guess that's how good this album is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 5 for me is Living Loving Maid. She's Just a Woman. Number 4 is What Is and What Should Never Be. Number 3 is Ramble On. Number 2 is Heartbreaker. And number 1 is Whole Lot of Love. That's my favorite. And then my least favorite, like Jacob, Moby Dick, I put my least favorite.
Okay, now we are going to give this album a rank or a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. So, how does Led Zeppelin 2 rate on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think it's a perfect 10 out of 10 album. Even though I think Ramble On isn't nearly as good as the other 8 tracks, I still think it's a 10 out of 10 experience.
Yeah, if Moby Dick was not on the album, I would give it a 10 out of 10. But because it's on the album, I'm going to go 9 out of 10, which means it's still a really, really great album. And it shows how much this is a much improved album for me, because I think I gave the first album like a 6 out of 10, if I'm not mistaken. But Led Zeppelin 2 is really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Jacob. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It's my second favorite Led Zeppelin album.
I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10. I don't know what it is that doesn't put it at a 10 for me, but it's going to sound crazy, but this is actually, believe it or not, one of my least favorite Led Zeppelin albums.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And it's not because I don't like it. It's just because literally every other record they made is better than this one. And I can't believe I'm saying, other than a specific album that rhymes with presents. But other than that, I feel like every other album they made is even better than this one, which is hard to even think because this album is so amazing. But they believe it or not, do get better from here.
Yeah, you're really high on Houses the Holy, aren't you?
Oh yeah. That that album is, oh man, I can't say it because it would ruin the video, but it's up there.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into these other albums and see where they're all going to rank. Because as of now, I thought some dude in an ACDC shirt.
That's my roommate.
Oh, okay.
We're sharing an apartment to split some costs.
He comes in the video every once in a while.
Yeah, he likes ACDC. His favorite album is Back in Black.
Oh, that's good. Briar put that first on our 80s list.
But yeah, I'm excited to dive into these other Led Zeppelin albums and see where I would rank them at the end.
I will say though, if you're looking for epic album closers, you're going to be so disappointed with Led Zeppelin 3's album closer.
Okay.
I mean, he likes Shook Me, so who knows? Maybe it might be his favorite Led Zeppelin song. Who knows?
Then again, I'm like the one guy on planet Earth that thinks You Shook Me was a good song from the first album.
You're gonna be like, am I the only one who likes Hats Off to Roy Harper?
Let me just ask, Jason, have you listened to Led Zeppelin 3 before?
I have. I don't remember though. It's been a while since I've listened to it, so I need to re-listen to it.
Do you remember Hats Off to Roy Harper?
No, I don't.
Okay,
better off.
Good. It's that song remains unremembered.
I hear you guys talk about it all.
Yeah, and they ranked it higher than Gallows Pull and some other songs. So
I think
it can't be as boring as Moby Dick.
Oh, it's not
just
boring. It's memorable for the wrong reason.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you'd be disappointed with Led Zeppelin 4's closers.
Oh
good.
No, when the levee breaks. Oh
Yeah.
That's my favorite closer to a Led Zeppelin album.
The drums.
Yeah.
Now, as far as closers go, other than Hats Off to Roy Harper, T for One is very boring.
Oh, is that the closer?
T for One is the closer to Presence.
Roy Harper, that song.
Yeah, Roy Harper is the closer, and it's so bad. The first thing you hear, you know what? I don't even think I should describe it because it's that. All I'm gonna say is that prepare to hear, "Hey, shake them on down," just like that, as distorted as that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you on our Led Zeppelin 3 review, and when Briar will be back with us. Thank you guys, and I was going to say good evening, but it may not be evening when you're watching this. Bye.
And then after the review, you can have some lemons afterward.